Hello and welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week a few of us gather together, just like an adventuring party, and go over old times, talk about things, discuss stories of old. I am, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
And I'm Seth.
And we're here to tell you a story. Well, new week, new story. We're coming off of a good one, and I have a feeling that this one's going to be even better. What story elements do you guys have for this new story?
Prequel.
Aw, yeah. So we're right in the prequel, ladies and gentlemen, to Trouble in Party Town. I had,
Is that how it works, or is it just a prequel to any of the ones?
It's a prequel to any of them, but
Okay.
I certainly hope he's doing Trouble in Party Town.
Yeah, it's my favorite story. So I've been listening to it again, and I really like Trouble in Party Town. I'm sorry, I really do.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that was my understanding. But I have beginning scene.
Yeah, and because of the because of the target rich environment, I was hoping that you could go first, Seth, because that would have a lot to do with where we join our story. Because this could have, let's just say, there's a lot of places to go with the prequel to Party Trouble in Party Town.
Okay. So beginning scene. Excuse me. So the beginning scene for our new story here is guy wakes up, kind of a little bit disorientated, kind of the terrors of the night kind of passing away out of recall, but like knowing they were there, but can't quite put his finger on what they were to begin with. Kind of goes to the wash bowl, splashes his face, washes his face, still kind of disorientated and, trying to get a bearing on his surroundings. And as he's kind of waking up and coming to, things seem strange, but you know how it is when you're waking up and you've just had like dreams and it's like, okay, is this what's real or was just happening real kind of stuff? And so he's, kind of getting a bearing, still kind of like trying to put everything together here, kind of doing all this stuff just kind of out of habit. This is what you do. You get up, you stretch, you kind of shake off the night and kind of looking around, still kind of disorientated. And so he steps outside, kind of to be hit with the reality that this is some place that is, completely foreign. This is real. He's woken up, but not in his own bed, not in his own place. This is somewhere completely different. No one is speaking the language he understands.
Cool.
Yeah. So he has, basically either woken up somewhere else or has had some kind of terrible accident that has, quite disorientated him to, what's going on. But that's how we start out.
That's great. Reed, do you have some world building with the prequel you want to give?
Yeah, I think we should kind of step back a ways, kind of back when there was the last period where humans and dragons lived in peace and developed in parallel. And they kind of helped balance each other. And the thing is this, before the breaking, the big war that went on for hundreds of years that kind of predated the story, Trouble in Party Town. But this is back before that. I'm seeing one of the things that I found really interesting that, we touched on in our story, the subsequent story, was that the more dragons there were, the smaller percentage of the genetic memory that each individual dragon held.
Right.
And so at the time where I see this story developing at a time when the dragons, they were connected to the individuals that they were connected to. They would, there would be bonding and whatnot. But there was a corporate wisdom, of course, but it wasn't concentrated. And so they were a little bit more dependent on the humans to kind of keep things going and to kind of make society make sense, because dragons weren't like focused on, growing crops and, making use of the resources available to, prosper society so that everybody would have enough to eat and whatnot. Even though they were sentient and obviously and they were intelligent, they just had a different orientation and a different set of drives than the humans.
Right.
Right. And so anyway, that's where I thought we should pick up, because there's just a lot of stuff to fill in that kind of part of the story before I kind of used the word the breaking, but the war that went on for hundreds of years that, culminated in that, in where our Trouble in Party Town kind of picks up. And I just, I'm sorry this is a little thin, but I just feel like there's just a lot to fill in here, and I'm a little bit dry on how to do it. So
you want it what time frame then do you want this to be?
Well, I'm thinking like 1,000 years prior to Trouble in Party Town.
So I would say then it's like pre-breaking, but probably whatever this is the starting or accumulation that leads to the breaking war.
Right.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's kind of exactly where I wanted to go with it. I'm sorry that I didn't have it really fleshed out, but
yeah, no, that's good. I just wanted to be sure I knew what time frame you were thinking of. It sounded like you had said one, but then it seemed like another, so that's totally fine.
Yeah, you got the Pantheon.
I do, although the Pantheon, I don't know how relevant it will be to the story at all. So we, as human beings, understand that we do experiments on things like flies, right? And we don't look at them and say, wow, how cruel you're being to those flies. We just look at them and say, the scope of your view, little tiny fly, is so small that it might look like I'm being evil or being cruel to you. So the Pantheon, or it's two collaborators who were cut into this reality and given the task of formulating and creating an efficient memory system, an efficient place to hold a conscious thought, right? So that's the 1,000 billion trillion yard stare, right? That's the that's the picture of the solar system where the planet exists. Right? Where the planet exists, and on that planet there's a continent, and on that continent there's a forest, and in that forest there's trees. But the big thing is that they're experimenters. They are we're going to see how it goes type of people, and there's two of them. And this is inevitably where the conflict started, is because the great task giver, the great administrator, the creator, tasked these two beings with coming in and mixing all the right chemicals together and creating all the right systems so that life could be made, as a way to, it could have been a reward. It could be like a task. This could be Monday morning for them. But this is the situation. This is the way in which people have been created, right?
Okay.
And it has been an absolute roaring success. And in fact, it's been so much of a roaring success that the Pantheon, the gods, have accidentally, because they are not in themselves capital G gods, right? A god like the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, that's outside of time and all of that, they are not that. But it has been such a success that they have sort of accidentally allowed for parts of them to bleed into their creation, right? And this is a great sort of contest of wills between the two of them, who fought when they started to disagree. They're still on the edges of memory. There is still sort of memories of giant titans the size of continents fighting with each other on this world, right? As they try to each of them wrestle domain. But in their own ways, they have kind of given the two all creatures and all creation to some degree, they've given a part of themselves to, but to the humans and to the dragons have they given the most, right? And this is kind of like this is the lesson, right? Who knows? Maybe this is marriage counseling for these gods, right? Go into that universe over there and make a world and find and create life that can live in harmony with itself, with each other, right? Who knows what it is? Regardless of what it is, they created these things, and they unknowingly or maybe subconsciously knowingly imbued a bit of their understanding into all of them. And this is where you get the genetic memory, right? This is where you get the genetic memory, but also the kind of human propensity to innovate and evolve, like in his thinking style, very rapidly, right? And it's not like one of these gods is male and one of these gods is female. They're just partners. It's not a, it could be that they're male and female but it's like, it doesn't matter. It's not the point. The point is that there's two of them, and there was some conflict and there is some peace, and they kind of left their fingerprint. It's like, why do people disagree? Well, people disagree because Shaban and Showman, the two great beings, disagreed on what color dandelions should be. And because they disagreed on what color dandelions could be, people have disagreed about things since. You know?
So the original was the original two, right? And then there were like others of their kind of joined the Enterprise, but they were like there was a hierarchy here.
No, I would say it was only ever the two.
It was only ever when you say when you use the expression the gods, small g, before, was this that just humans and dragons that had been imbued with like more of that kind of
No, I'm saying all the fact that you're a human being, like on this world, the fact that you have like sentience and can make that determination between good and evil, and not act on instinct, and is because one of the gods, when he was creating them and forming them and making them and developing them, he considered and he passed on some of that. Not like he became diminished. You know, he didn't take 100% of himself and now he has only 99% of himself. Not like the dragons, who pass their genetic memory and diminish every time they have new. But he influenced them. Right. You know? And so everything that humans struggle with, or our love of music, people, especially here now before the breaking war, people are now always kind of, they ascribe certain aspects to certain, they call them two things, and they ascribe certain aspects, even though you don't have like a real good evidence for this. It's kind of humans' way to like make explanations as to why things are the way they are, Yeah. And that's kind of how and my idea is that these two beings, what did I call their names, Reed?
I wrote them down. Shaban and
Chauvin.
Shaban and Chauvin.
So they have set the world up enough now that they aren't like in the soup, kind of like actively helping humans develop. They're not like sitting there doing genetic testing on the dragons. It's like, we've set this up enough. Now they roam the world, kind of watching as things go. It's like the art class. In the art class, the sculpting period is done.
Yes.
The glazing period is done. The kiln period is coming, and after that is grading.
Right.
And so they're just kind of like, we've been at this thing for, hundreds of thousands of years now, and we are expecting any time now for the kiln period to happen, and for the creator who put us on this great task to come and kind of judge our works.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, they do not see the breaking war happen. It is not part of their plan.
Yeah.
It's very, maybe even there is some, because they put so much of themselves into the creation of the gods and of the humans and the dragons and the world, that in fact there is some weakness in them that is discovered. And then that is either the linchpin or the straw or whatever, the thing that happens that causes or starts the turning over of the world is the death of one or both of these. So
Well, one of the things that I think is really interesting and has gotten my mind kind of racing is that as you started to explain these the Pantheon here, is that you interjected something, kind of an analogy to give it scale. Like when you said, like, these are experimenters. Like, I imagine a scientist that were doing experiments and they're using flies as their subjects and doing, and like they don't really, because the existence of a fly, first of all, is just, days at most, in scale to like these sentient dragons and humans that these people have created. You gave that scale. So here I'm seeing that there's all kinds of potential unintended consequences. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like they come here and they create this thing, and it's a huge success because the humans and the dragons are thriving and they're interacting with their environment, and everything is going along, and in their enthusiasm they have imparted more and more of themselves into these I'm going to call them flies. They're the subjects of their experiment, and yet they've made a fine kettle of fish here. And I just really like that. I think that's a real interesting element because you introduce that. Do you know what I mean? You introduce this element of scale.
So here's a really interesting thought I just had as you were talking about this, Reed. What if there was a great war fought somewhere in the heavens, somewhere else?
Right.
Against the Creator, right? We're talking hundreds of billions of ships containing hundreds of trillions of life forms. We're talking numbers on a scale that we can't even imagine.
Galactic.
Yeah, but the Creator is good. He's good and he's patient. And he won, of course.
Yeah.
However, what he promises because each person who turns against him, including the great general who is currently serving out his own punishment in a deep pit somewhere, each general or person who turns against him gets to reap the rewards of their desires as a test to see if they can really live with it. So these two were generals, were scientists and bioengineers, and they get put into their own place and get told, okay, make a good self-sustaining system. Do the thing that you think you don't need me here for. I will cut myself off and my influence from this universe, this alternate dimension that exists here, and you will become the gods of that place. And in X number of time or whenever you call or whatever, will come and will judge, right? And so they spend all this time. And so, like, they're not strictly speaking evil, right? But they are strictly speaking self-assured.
Yeah.
And this is how you can get evil because they bake in this self-assuredness,
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Seth?
Interesting, which brings something to the character that I start out with, an idea for that. I'm trying to debate, and then with what you just gave, like, would that mean that he's actually, like, technically good or bad? My idea on that is that he is, until you made it that these people, okay, I'm trying to follow all this, and, like, I get it. I'm just trying to then insert this idea here. So, like you said, it's coming to the kiln. They've established that, okay, we've got this thing, this system, these people, right? This world works, these things live in harmony, right? Well, what is a test? A test is the fire, right?
Right.
Is it going to stand up to the kiln, right? So this character that I bring in at first,
Do you want to have a name for him?
I don't have a name for him directly, no, but he orchestrates the breaking in a way, right? It's the kiln, right? He comes in, it's either one of these other people, an agent somewhere, right?
Right. Right.
But it's not like he's just like running off a directive. It's something that as he kind of is adapting, because what he knows of stepping into this other place, he has no direct recollection of what was before, but over time is receiving his orders through, like, let's say, like some kind of dream, right? Which then is helping direct him to kind of orchestrate a problem, right? And so as he kind of comes in, there's an amount kind of being an outsider, seeing what's developed kind of on a natural level, but also being nudged to kind of start like pushing at the seams. Because I remember years ago we did that cabin thing, and your dad had that thing where it's like, build the tower, who can build it tallest and strongest, and right? And you can build something really quick and it's going to be really tall and you're proud of it, right? But then when your dad comes over with his pen or ruler and starts pushing on it or whatever he did, oh look, it's falling right over because you just built it really tall, but it's not durable, right? So he kind of comes in and starts developing, as he's kind of like an outsider looking in now, learns the language, sees how the world functions, and starts seeing its kinks, right? So then he starts kind of producing critique, right? Which then starts some of this kind of downhill spiral, right? So I'm thinking like he comes in and he sees this world kind of ordered, right? You've got, let's say, greater dragons and lesser dragons. These lesser dragons kind of, like you could have a lesser dragon that isn't like huge and majestic, but he kind of connects and can help a blacksmith, right? Or right, someone that like, and so you have a lot of people, maybe not everybody has dragons, but like it kind of shows like an order of things, right?
Yeah.
Where then it's like, oh, well, you were just lucky enough to have, a grand dragon, and so you get to serve on the court, right? And there's an amount of order to it, right? But kind of looking in, it's like it starts poking at that, oh, so you've kind of made I don't know, I'm just trying to come up with something so that he starts to see that it's like, oh, like any kind of, let's say, revolutionary idea. Oh, so like
the haves and the have-nots.
You're the have and have-nots. You're like, okay, this kind of works so long as you stay in line with this, line of thinking. So long as you let like those that are born into privilege oppress you, then sure, their system works, but then you're delegated to be, a cotton picker or a rice farmer your whole life, right? Like, so and so then he starts interjecting, let's say, some of this chaos. Why should you be reliant on the dragons? You can, achieve this, like we were putting in the other one, you dragons are, carry that genetic memory. Why should you help the humans in this way? You're just then the slaves to them. But then in the other way, this, the same way, you guys are held back technologically or philosophically because you are, allowing this other right. That would be my idea there. So he could be the villain of, this thing, but I would say kind of comes in and starts to, push at the kinks, cause that disruption, right? Becomes the kiln. And so what you have then is the great breaking becomes the kiln, right? That's where this place is put to the fire. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think so.
And
then everything after that is the cooling off and the grading period.
Yeah.
How
does
so
it
it's
restructure itself on its own rather than what they have kind of established for it?
Right. Can you totter, yes, you've built the going back to the other analogy, you've built the tower, but will it stand now if I push on it a little bit?
Yeah.
And you don't touch it, will it come back and be And like the lives of men, are consequential, but also inconsequential, because the question is, and I think part of the thing is that the answer is no, right? Because these gods are serving penance, kind of. They're trying to see if the world that they thought they could make and was good could actually work, And I think maybe we see that the answer is no. And that's why I'm saying that maybe the breaking happens outside of the kiln starts before they understand that it's happening, right? Because they posture themselves as the gods, but they are as much a part of the system and a part of the thing as everyone else is.
Yes.
I think this would be a pretty good story. Anyone else have any interesting world building they want to do? I've been reading a lot of Wheel of Time. I'm on the 5th book and almost halfway. And I love it. And I already recognize how my thought process is trying to turn it more Wheel of Time-esque. And so I'm really doing my best to
just not have the wheel.
Yeah.
Wills as the wheel.
Because there's a breaking
as the wheel will.
Yeah, there's already. Well, I mean, I want to have the wheel weaves as the wheel wills because that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
But what I don't want to have is Forsaken.
Right. Yeah.
Which I really want to have. I want to have like the key 10 people of power who survive the breaking.
Yeah.
And it's like they're bad though, and everyone's afraid of them. It's like no, Levi.
Yeah.
Make it if it's supposed to be made. Don't make it if it's not. Anyways. Unless anybody has any good story building stuff for this first episode, I think we'll call it a night. Sound good to everybody?
Sounds good to me.
So.
I think it's a really good basis for the story. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Wait, It Gets Better. If you like this episode, if you'd like to hear more episodes like this, listen, we broadcast on pretty much everything. If you want to ask us a question about our storytelling elements, our storytelling methods, our ideas, how we come up with ideas, what kind of books we read, send us an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com or message us on Twitter at @getsbettercast. If you thought that this story is boring, I would say just wait. It gets better.